Hi everybody, my name is Eric Duarte. I'm a second-year teacher here at Cathedral. I teach Catholic Faith 9, I teach philosophy, and I teach Catholic social justice, and a little bit about me. I've been married for a year, and here's a picture of me on my honeymoon. You married me. So I want to take 5 minutes only to explain or to justify to you why we teach the Old Testament to 14-year-old kids. Now, it might seem like that might be a big task to do in just 5 minutes, but that's a lot more time than I usually have to do it. Usually I do it in 1 minute, and that happens at open house when I have parents come in. I explain to them that 9th grade we're going to be talking about the Bible, and inevitably I get a hand in the back say, you're not going to be teaching about the Old Testament, right? There's some stuff in there that we're not sure we want our 14-year-old being exposed to. And the truth is, they've got kind of a point, right? There's some violent things in the Bible. I took this passage from something we looked at last week about Samuel hacking King Agag to pieces. There's a plethora of scenes like this I could have chosen from that we look at freshman year. This is just one. And this comes from well-intentioned parents that are both Christian and non-Christian. I think there's a kind of curiosity or an interest behind these difficult passages kind of across the board. And so they come up with concerns about what their freshman student might be learning freshman year. And they always come with this idea like this, it's this new discovery. We've just discovered in the 21st century that there's violence in the Bible, right? And so they always kind of say our enlightened 21st century minds are ready to jettison the Old Testament and just look at the New Testament because that's the good God, right? But the truth is that's a very old way of thinking. Think back to the 1st, 2nd century, we've got Marcionism, had the same thing, right? Rejected the Old Testament in favor of this New Testament, the one with the good God in quotation marks. And really what we're doing here is kind of cherry picking. We're taking the passages that kind of we like, that are easy, that make us feel good, and what we're doing is we're sacrificing a really rich interpretive tradition that we have as a church. We're kind of selling ourselves short if that's the approach we would take, which is not what we're doing, right? We've got this rich tradition. Think of guys like Origen of Alexandria, who were contemporary in the time of this movement. You know, giving us rich ways to understand Scripture, to look at the whole of God's revelation and take from it, as opposed to kind of trying to obscure the passages that we don't fully understand. A lot of people don't read their Bible very often, and because of that, they develop a sense of kind of confusion when they look at it. They kind of develop a sense of hesitance. They crack it open once in a while, without the tools, they get kind of a little hesitant to delve deeper into it. So the first thing we cover freshman year is that the Bible is actually many books. Biblios is a Greek word, means books. There's lots of books in the Bible, many different authors, written at many different times, to many different audiences, and as soon as we lock that in, it opens up the meaning behind them for freshmen. As Catholics, we look at the Bible contextually as opposed to fundamentally. A fundamentalist might look at the Bible and try and look at everything literally to derive meaning in that way. But Catholics, as contextualists, look at the books in context. So what does it mean to look at the passages in context? Well, we take in literary forms into account, the historical situations of the time that the books were being written. We look at the unity of Scripture, looking at them together. And we do it in the context of sacred tradition, that means in the church. Imagine you were to pick up the complete works of Shakespeare and try and read everything literally without taking any classes, going to any discussions about it, and trying to interpret his message just by doing that. You're very likely to misinterpret. The same thing is true of the Bible. If you try and read the Bible without the proper tools and outside of the context of the church, I wouldn't blame you for looking like my freshmen looked on the first couple days of school. They look like it's something scary, right? Because, of course, we need these tools and we need the tradition of the church to understand God's revelation. And I think that's why it's so important to have it first year for freshmen, for 14-year-olds. Stay calm and take the first step into this otherwise kind of scary, big, large world that is the Bible, and introduce it to them freshman year. When we start them young, we develop a relationship with the Scriptures that's based on trust and openness, right? Transparency, as opposed to trying to hide certain parts of Scripture, saying, well, don't look at that, just look at these good passages. We tackle head on the totality of the Old Testament. And at the end of the day, to really understand the New Testament, you need to have a strong foundation in the Old. To get the full revelation, you need both, right? You need the Old to understand the New, and that's something we really try and hammer home in freshman year religion.